And as we do most weeks, we've got Patrick de Haan from GasBuddy joining us to talk about that ever-present headline of what gas prices are doing. Now, they've remained at an elevated level from a year ago pretty consistently, but there have been slight variations week to week now in terms of those gas prices since the war in Iran began and the Strait of Hormuz closed. Patrick, how you doing on this Monday? Thanks for joining us once again.
I appreciate it. I'm great.
Okay, wonderful. And if you're great, maybe that means that there's some positive news about gas prices. What are you seeing right now today? Where do things stand?
I'm great. I just haven't also had to talk about oil prices just yet. So maybe that may fade away here in the hours ahead. For now, as you mentioned, oil prices started the week by jumping in Sunday night trade as we've seen now new escalations from President Trump talking about Iran, that the time is ticking. Oil prices, though, this morning reversed. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense when there's escalations, but one has to start looking at the integrity of the market. There may be something ongoing in the background, but generally you don't see oil prices dropping on new escalations. Having said that, average gas prices in Virginia up about 3 cents a gallon in the last week, up $1.35 from a year ago, hanging out in this kind of low to mid $4 mark. That's something that we may continue to see here as we get into Memorial Day weekend. Beyond that, we still could continue to trend higher. The strait continues to be closed, and until it reopens, we're going to continue to see pretty significant impacts on oil prices moving ahead. And I would say that now 78 days into the U.S.-Iran situation, that it may now take until late 2027 for global oil inventories to catch back up. So we continue to probably go higher in the weeks ahead. Again, not necessarily at a huge pace, but we're up another few cents. If you add that up every week, we'll probably hit that mid $4 mark. We could go higher than that if the strait continues to be closed. And who knows? We could eventually see new all-time records when it comes to gas prices.
Okay, now number one, we must apologize because your Monday was going great. We are responsible for bringing this oil conversation into the picture, so our apologies. But we'll rebound quickly here. No worries at all. Now there has been talk from President Trump and other lawmakers about suspending the federal gas tax. Do you see that as a viable option to truly help with this situation?
Well, I mean, help it would, but to the degree. I mean, an 18.4 cent a gallon reduction in prices still leaves us with gas prices that are over $1 a gallon more expensive than a year ago. So it is some relief. It is probably not the amount of relief that most Americans are looking for. The other thing is, as well, looking at the cost impacts, the Federal Highway Trust Fund would be foregoing about $2.1 billion a month in gas tax revenue. So to look at the totality of the situation, it may reduce gas prices by 18 cents a gallon or so if Congress passes this and if President Trump signs it. But again, that is not a whole lot of relief when you're talking about gas prices statewide that are up $1.32 from a year ago.
Yeah, so something, but definitely not bringing us back to where things were during those times when I guess we almost took it for granted at that point in time. Now, I've also heard some sort of maybe more sensational headlines or statements about how, well, once this war ends, the gas prices are going to go back to lower than they ever were before. Is that feasible for us to truly get back even below where we were a year ago? Or is it something where you can't totally put the cat back in the box or whatever? Am I getting that statement right? The back in the bag?
The cat back in the bag.
Cat back in the bag, right. Are we in a situation where it'll never truly get back to that? Or is that something that could happen? And if so, how quickly?
Yeah, well, it certainly could happen, maybe in a couple of years. And so, nothing's ever impossible when it comes to oil markets. Supply and demand are constantly changing. Could we see it again? Yes, but I think it'd be a long time before that could potentially happen. I mean, most Americans don't get to see the pool of oil that's draining rapidly. Global oil inventories are declining notably and have now for over 2 months. And that's going to take an incredible amount of time to rebuild those global inventories, because keep in mind, global economy on a normal day consumes about 100 million barrels. There's only about 102 million barrels a day of production. So there's about a 2 million barrel a day difference between supply and demand. And that 2 million barrels divided by, we've lost out on a billion barrels of oil already. If you do the arithmetic, it's going to take a very long period of time for that 2 million a barrel day surplus in oil production once the straits reopen to start increasing global oil inventories, right? And it may be even beyond 78 weeks. Every day I've been estimating that we're seeing the strait close as a week of time that it's going to take to recover. And that would put us at November of 2027 for recovery in global oil inventories, but it may take longer than that.
Okay, so that it possible, but years down the road if that
Yep.
does come to fruition. And then, of course, we've got Memorial Day weekend coming up. As you already stated, we know, or we've talked about and reported on how those elevated gas prices might impact Memorial Day weekend. I'm wondering, what does the inverse look like? In what way will Memorial Day weekend impact prices? Is that something that could drive prices due to the elevated demand? What could we see in terms of the holiday impacting the pump?
Well, I mean, demand is on a weekly basis. It does get smoothed out. Summer holidays, unlike fall or winter holidays, generally do see sustained increases in demand through the weekend, unlike Thanksgiving, where everyone hits the road and then parks for a few days. Memorial Day is one of those returns to recreational activities. People drive to a cottage, then they might use more gasoline or other fuels over the course of the weekend in the boat, et cetera. So, I don't expect there to be a huge surge in demand with prices being elevated. I think a lot of Americans are probably going to cut back. That is, if you do have a boat, if you do go up to the lake, you may not run the boat in the lake all weekend long. Some people might, but all in all, summer holidays generally do see an increase in demand, but it's such a short burst of time, a 5 day, a 4 day weekend, that it doesn't usually impact markets in a profound way. Demand is higher than it is during the fall, but it's such, again, a short burst of an increase of demand that it doesn't usually impact markets. We'll have to see what the numbers look like, by the way. The 4 week average for gasoline consumption has declined from last year. I'll be real curious. If this Memorial Day is above 9 million barrels a day, that'll be a pretty strong statement that Americans didn't really care about high prices. But my suspicion is that we could see U.S. gasoline demand falling below the 9 million barrel a day number. And that would be pretty strong sign that consumers are reacting to high prices.
Hi, Patrick. Samantha here, the producer today. I have a question about like the summer blends because I know we change blends through the seasons. Does that make any difference of what we'll see with pricing at the pumps in the next couple of months?
I mean, summer gasoline tends to be anywhere from 5 to 20 cents a gallon more expensive. The blending components are why that there's a range. It's not an exact science because some of the components go into summer gasoline can vary, just like the price of oil varies on a daily basis. We've made the changeover across the entirety of the country to summer gasoline. We've been on it now for the last few weeks ahead of this coming weekend's deadline. Retailers have until June 1st to basically purge all their winter gasoline, but usually well ahead of the deadline, we've made the transition already. So that's not something that's going to be actively pushing prices up from here on out. It is a reason why prices are slightly higher this time of year compared to winter, but that is not something that now changes. It's something that we're paying probably 5 or 10 cents more for compared to like New Year's. But that's not a reason why prices are actively climbing. A lot of the reason for that is still the Strait of Hormuz being shut down. And then we'll make the change back to cheaper winter gasoline in mid-September.
Okay, good to know. And in terms of that summer gas situation, boats out on the water is something that I honestly hadn't put much thought into, and it is a great point. Here in Hampton Roads, we'll certainly be keeping an eye out for maybe if there are just a less noticeable crowd of boats on that Memorial Day weekend. So always adding insight, always bringing new thoughts, new ideas to the table. Patrick de Haan from GasBuddy. Anything else you want to add today, Patrick?
Go out there and enjoy Memorial Day, and hopefully the high gas prices aren't too much of a hindrance. And as always, I'll be hoping for some relief this week, but we probably won't get that.
Yeah, we can hope. When we will keep that hope going for as much as we can here. In the meantime, we will enjoy Memorial Day weekend. You do the same. Patrick de Haan from GasBuddy, as always, joining us here this week to talk about those elevated prices and where they may go. So, Patrick, we appreciate you, and I'm sure we'll see you again soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it.